So we're in Luke chapter 13. We've reached sentence 10 through 17. Now remember, Dr. Luke is a really experienced doctor, perhaps a surgeon or paediatrician, or I don't know what it is. And then he swapped careers, at least for a period, to investigate and then write a historical account of Jesus' life. It must have taken him many, many years to do it. And so whenever in Luke we come across a story about someone who's ill or sick, more than any of the other biographers of Jesus' life, Luke the doctor gives us details and is precise and is particularly interested in the medical sides of the situation. So it's really worth just pausing, or maybe after this devotion, and reading Luke 13, 10 through 17, as it tells the story of Jesus healing a woman who has been crippled. But what I want to point out to you is the reaction of different people to this amazing intervention of Jesus as he solves this woman's greatest earthly need. For example, in sentence 14, it says, "Some were indignant because Jesus had healed her on the Sabbath." Can you imagine that kind of reaction? You see someone made well, and even though it broke some of your quite precious rules, you can't celebrate that, but you are indignant about it. Or right at the end in sentence 17, Jesus, it says, when he said these things, all his opponents were humiliated, but the people were delighted with all the wonderful things he was doing. There's the second reaction, being delighted with all the wonderful things that Jesus is doing. Literally being filled with light. That's what the word delighted means. Filled with light, because you've seen the wonderful things that Jesus is doing. So I just want to ask you, are you at risk of falling into that indignation category? That when you see Jesus do stuff, or you see Jesus do stuff through Christians, other Christians, but they don't do it the way you think it should be done. They don't do it quite within the parameters that are very precious and important to you, and they've done it in a different way because those parameters aren't so precious to them. Is your first response indignation? Can't believe they use that kind of music to worship God. I can't believe they speak in that kind of way about Jesus. I can't believe they emphasize that reality of who Jesus is. And even though God is at work by his Spirit through them, your response is indignation, because it's outside the precious parameters and preferences that you have. Or have you been able to cultivate a heart that is like that group of people? It literally says, who were delighted with all the wonderful things Jesus was doing. Not just the wonderful things that Jesus was doing your way and in your preferences, but literally all the wonderful things that Jesus was doing. Cultivate that kind of heart that doesn't get a bit stroppy and irate when things aren't done your way, but actually has spiritual eyes to be amazed at the wonderful things Jesus is doing, however he is doing it, whether it fits your parameters or not.